to both KK Academy and Dee Dee Gee for making it this far. You guys should be very, very, very proud of yourselves. My name is Yeshua, and I'll be your chair for today. Now, with that, can I ask my fellow panelists to also please introduce yourself by the order present in the tab, starting with Judge Dan.
Hello, my name is Linh, and I have a huge congrats on you guys for making it to the grand final, and hope you guys have an interesting and amazing debate. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations for reaching grand finals of JWSDC. I'm your judge, one of your panel, Karl, and yeah, good luck.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations. I'm one of your panel. I am Lexi, and good luck.
Hi, congratulations. I'm Rob. I'll be one of the panelists. Good luck to all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lorenz. I'll also be one of the panelists. Congratulations to reaching grands and good luck.
Hi, everyone. I'm Judge Marvhie. Congratulations for reaching the grands and have fun.
All right, since the panel is now complete, just a few reminders before we start the round. If it's okay, kindly input in the chat which three from your team will be speaking, and please indicate their speaker roles so that me and the panelists can know what to input in our ballots later on. Be sure to time yourselves as well. You have 4 minutes in the substantive speeches and 2 minutes for the replies. I'll stop typing at 4:15, but be sure to please, again, time yourselves. Last reminder, POIs are not mandatory, but I do encourage you to give and take them to keep the round engaging. Also mention your name and POI preference before you speak, just so everything's clear on the end of both teams and the panelists. With that, without further ado, debating on the motion, this House prefers an emphasis on building the right relationship instead of finding the right person, I now call on the Honorable Prime Minister. Here.
Hello, my name is Leo. My pronouns are he, him. My preferred method is taking POIs verbally. So my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Before I go through my speech, I would like to establish one piece of framing, which is what building the right relationship looks like. So in the status quo, it probably looks like entering into a consensual arranged marriage. This means that you might not initially love the person, but you genuinely don't mind entering into a relationship with this someone and subsequently falling in love. And Op cannot contend that there will be no love in this relationship. You will probably build a good future together and can subsequently derive all the benefits in love. Since this is a preferred world, there likely is impetus and structures to be able to do this well. This is because the dominant narrative is one of building for your future and one of staying together. Practicing this means you are likely willing to concede and make some sacrifices for your relationship to work. The priority with long relationships is to make it last long and be happy. Therefore, it is sustainable. It's important to point out this debate happens when individuals are already in a relationship and their mental calculus when they're in a relationship. The way individuals look for partners will be symmetrical on both sides. You will probably formulate relationships with those who are within your social surroundings and people that you meet. This remains the same. The idea of your priorities in a relationship is what changes. My first argument is that the right person narrative makes people abandon relationships easily. So, why is this true? Firstly, relationships are full of tensions. You have conflicts, arguments, and fights sometimes. This can sometimes cascade. In resolution of conflict, the important idea of centrism and being able to meet in the middle. This is important in order to achieve negotiation. POI decline. In order to achieve negotiation and mediation of conflict. Secondly, if an individual prioritizes finding a right person, this means they are unwilling to sacrifice for the other person. This is problematic because there is a barrier to negotiations and being able to talk well with the other person. The comparative is that when you're able to prioritize building the right relationship, you're more likely to be able to make sacrifices for the other person to move on. This is within your incentive as well as when you enter into a relationship, you want to be able to live for a while with the person. This then allows you to have a better grasp of the relationship because you can be together for a longer time. So, how are we able to avoid abusive and toxic relationships? Firstly, on both sides, you can probably opt out of these relationships. This is because if a relationship is abusive, that means that the relationship is beyond repair. You're not able to resolve problems in your relationship in general. The easiest method is just opt out. Secondly, you prioritize the long-term goal. That means that you know this relationship has no endpoint. It's more likely for you to opt out of this relationship in general. This is important. POI decline. So as I was saying, this relationship has no endpoint. It is more likely for you to opt out of this relationship in general. This is important because it prevents the harms of an abusive relationship from trickling down and being an inhibitor of the happy life. So the impacts is that, why is this important right now? Firstly, because the current world is full of toxic relationships and shallow individuals. Finding the right person is extremely hard, as your characteristic for finding the right person will probably be the social standards of finding someone. This is why you have high expectations. Take, for example, someone rich, or something good-looking, or someone loyal. Within society, these positive attributes are things that are declining over time, so on the surface, finding these individuals is really hard. Secondly, you're able to stay in a relationship for a long time, because you just focus on your idea of self and being there for the other person. This is easier to buy because the threshold for achieving this is far lower. When you are in a relationship with the other person, you are far less likely to engage in instances where you would harm the other individual. You are far less likely to cheat, far less likely to be abusive, or commit harm. This is true because you prioritize staying together with the person for a long time, hence, you will be happy. Thirdly, even if you're unhappy, you're more likely to resolve conflicts even easier, because you're able to medicate and come to negotiations better. Given the fact that you will prioritize being together, you are more likely to resolve discussions better and solve problems as well. Fourthly, the threshold to argue becomes higher, because you will prioritize the other person's happiness. This means less arguments and fights as well. I'm so proud to propose. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that speech. Just a reminder as well that if we're giving and taking POIs, be sure to do it after the first minute and before the last minute of the speech of the speaker. With that, I now call on the leader of the opposition. You're here.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Pronouns he, him, and I'll prefer verbal POI, so just open your microphone and say POI out loud. Speech will start with my first word. Relationships are like houses. You can spend years building, decorating, and repairing, but if the foundation is weak, I think the whole structure will collapse. That is why the actor seeking love, finding the right person matters more than endlessly trying to build the right relationship. Firstly, some rebels, right? We believe that I like to give some visualization because side proposition has never given us any kind of clear visualization of how this world will look like, right? Number one, I think that in propositions world, people emphasize building over finding, right? This means that individuals enter relationships with whoever they meet and then pour effort into making it work. The world looks like couples constantly negotiating, compromising, and struggling to fix incompatibilities, right? I think one of the biggest and also most exaggerated kind of assumption that proposition has made here is that while some relationship may survive through sheer effort, many become draining, toxic, unsustainable because the foundation of compatibility was never there. People stay longer in mismatched relationships out of duty, out of fear, and out of the belief that effort alone can solve everything. The actor's dignity and agency are compromised as they feel pressure to repair what was never right to begin with. What does our world give, right? We give you opposition world. This world means that people emphasize finding first. It means that individuals prioritize compatibility, shared values, trust, mutual respect before committing to building, right? This means that the world will look like couples who start with strong foundations and then build naturally with effort strengthening what they already work out, right? Relationships here are safer, more efficient, and more sustainable. Why is this? Two layers mechanisms, right? I believe number one, the actor here avoids wasting years in mismatches, grows alongside with their partner, and leave behind a legacy of meaningful and also lasting connections, right? Here, building is valued, but it happens after the right person is chosen, making it constructive rather than forced, right? But number two, what is the status quo in today's society? I believe that in society today, people naturally seek partners who share values, goals, and compatibility. This means that you would likely to become a pair as well as a partner with someone who share the same hobbies, someone who care about you, and therefore I think that this search is not about perfection, but it's about alignment, right? Without the right person, no amount of effort can make a relationship healthy. Proposition model risk encouraging people to stay in mismatch or even harmful relationship under the illusion that building can fix anything, right? As one thing that side proposition can come here and say is that, oh, this means that it could also become like a toxic relationship where you only matter just about things, for example, money or things like that, right? Why this will never happen in our side, and even if it happens, why could we believe that this is the case for both sides of the house, right? No, thank you. We believe that number one, the key values here are realism, safety, and sustainability here, right? We believe that relationships here should be built on a solid foundation of compatibility, emphasizing building over finding and ignoring the importance of choosing wisely at the start, right? So, number one, I believe that a relationship is like basically a house. So no, thank you. You could basically invest in building, decorating, and repairing, but the foundation is weak. Therefore, the structure will inevitably collapse, right? For the actor here, an individual seeking love or partnership here, the foundation is the person they choose. Finding the right person ensures shared values, mutual respect, and safety. Without this, any attempt of building becomes exhausting, other harmful, and ultimately unsustainable. In other words, I believe that effort only matters when it is placed on the right foundation. Choosing wisely at the start protects this kind of dignity and ensures that the relationship has the stability needed for the growth. Two main impacts. Number one is a short-term impact here. We believe that they would have like a very short time to know each other, and therefore a very short time to know each other. But I believe that why is this still a good thing? It's a good thing because even if that you don't build as much as in the relationship, the fact that you're already finding the right person who share the same interests, who share the same values as you, is a very good start that could help you to build a sustainable kind of relationship. And number two, why at the end of the day we believe that we win is debate, because it's not just about priorities, right? Proposition world risks trapping the actor in harmful relationship by overemphasizing buildings. Our world ensures the actor chooses wisely, protects their dignity, and builds sustainable love. Even in our worst case scenario, the actor is still investing in effort in building, but only with the right person. In their best case, effort is wasted on mismatches, and that is why vote for a side opposition. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. I now call on the Deputy Prime Minister. You're here.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. I think opposition's strongest harm in today's debate is the fact that they tell you because you don't have the initial compatibility, that whatever you build after that will fail inevitably. Here's why this is completely untrue, right? We tell you that then relationships do start from initial compatibility as well on our side. Note that relationships are created or started mostly from proximity, mutual connections, or the fact that you know them in general, right? Note that someone cannot magically create a relationship with a complete stranger that they don't even know the name of, right? Relationships tend to still start on our side by something that you two know each other with, or something that you two know how to do together. Note that relationships will still start from initial compatibility. It is rather what the relationship will develop into, which is different in this motion, right? We tell you that number two, they tell you that relationships are shorter and they concede to this. However, we tell you then that it actually is something that they can't really concede to for the fact that you don't actually know what you're getting into at the end of the day, right? For the sole fact that relationships actually take time to develop, and this time is exclusive on our side because we're actively trying to find more about our partner. We're actively trying to strengthen the relationship. This takes time, and this is why it's exclusive on our side. Note then that why time is so crucial in today's debate is the fact that people aren't going to open up everything about themselves in the first date, right? This takes time. This takes a lot of talking, a lot of trust to be built. This is not something that can be done over a short period of time. Note that this means that for the sole fact that we actually have more discussions, for the fact that we're trying to actually build a stronger connection in the first place, means that people are more likely to tell things that you can then opt out from in the first place instead of like signing up for something you don't know. I'll take it.
on our side of the house, we're not completely rejecting the fact that you have to build on your relationship, and simply because you love someone, that means you're going to be willing to build on it for them. So why is that only exclusive to your side?
It's exclusive on our side is for the sole fact that people aren't abandoning others who can also do well for them, which is what I'm going to develop, right? Number one, which is the fact that the right person for you has to meet all your current demands, right? What this looks like is today in social media, where men have to go through the bare minimum, right? Where opening the car for a woman is the bare minimum, buying flowers for her is the bare minimum. We have so many societal expectations under their narrative instead, right? We see this then that the right person for you, what is most likely going to be the right person, is under your judgment, right? It is completely up to you rather than what is actually could be factually correct or true. The main thing that you're looking for the right person could example be like attractive, right? How attractive they are towards you and how fit they are towards you. And that is all under your judgment, right? Notice then that number two, there is no accountability in this situation. And why then do we find successful relationships easier on our side? Is the fact that in all relationships, there will be a disagreement no matter what, right? At a point of time, the excitement and initial butterflies and let's say crushes will die down. When in this specific period, we tell you that then this is the part where you lose attraction, where you lose what made the person so special to you, where you lose what made you attracted to the right person, right? We tell you that then because the right person is under your judgment in the first place, this means that you're most likely either going to be one, losing everything you liked about this person past that stage, two, glorifying the person in the initial stages, right? Know that then because they are the right person for you, notice that it's going to also be like they're meant for you, they're the perfect one for you. What this then means is that because it is the right person for you, you're more likely to ignore the initial flaws. And this is how we're going to flip their harm, how you get into more toxic relationships at the end of the day, right? The whole reason why people do get into toxic relationships is because they fall for the wrong person initially, and they then are stuck with that person. Notice then that we tell you on the exclusivity on time, where these people are able to then pursue a middle ground. And even for the toxic person, right? If they can't pursue a middle ground, the toxic person is also most likely going to leave. Right? Thank you.
All right, thank you for that speech. And I'll call on the Deputy Leader of the Opposition. You're here.
Okay. Is this audible?
Yes, I can both hear you and see you.
Let me set up my timer. Speech will start in 3, 2. Well, I think the main push we get from side proposition is simple. It's the fact that you can simply solve more problems. We want you to know that, first of all, this is symmetric on both sides of the house, when both sides can actively engage with each other and they can actively talk to each other. And I think the biggest problem from proposition is that they never actually talked about why this is something exclusive on their side of the house. We don't disagree with the fact that talking with each other is something which you should actually do. I think the biggest nuance here is the fact that the narrative actively pushes people into situations they don't want to. I think the main problem with side proposition is they never talked about how this narrative is actually going to manifest and how it actually affects these individuals from the start. We say that this will affect things like autonomy. Second of all, in terms of our negative case, we want to talk about the way it manifests through true force, right? First of all, in terms of social media, we think there's probably going to be a huge romanticization of couples who get together through things like going through challenges. I think it's probably going to create a pixel perfect image of what a relationship should look like. The fact that you go through a lot of challenges and the fact that you build these relationships yourself. But second of all, it's probably going to be through things like friends and family who actively internalize these beliefs and actively try and push them onto you to try and find the so-called right person that you need. But also because they view that is the main relationship that you have to try and get, but also because that is the main thing that you should do, because it's always the right thing to do. I think this is the reason why on your side of the house is probably going to be unnecessary coercion of these individuals. The reason why this is so bad is because of things like toxic relationships. We say that not every single relationship is good. I think the burden now is on proposition to try and prove the fact that they will probably going to be able to help these people. We think that the main reason why toxic relationships happen is twofold. First of all, in terms of false hope, I think it's probably going to be a lot of false hope on your side of the house. When people look forward to getting together and getting to go through challenges. But second of all, it uses pressure as a tool. If I'm like a toxic person and I want to, and let's say I'm dating someone, right? And I can actively use this to pressure them into continue dating me because of the fact that I can do so. Because of the fact I want you to still continue dating them, but I don't want to change. I think the fact that you're using this as a building mechanism tool is somewhat false. The reason why people are probably going to fall for for this on their side of the house, it's because you're probably going to trust people like your friends and family. I think there's a high reason why people want to trust their friends and family, because people view them as the people who really care about them. They probably want to believe them, especially because of the fact they really trust in them. But second of all, it's the right that the social media describes. The fact that it's so romanticized that you want to get into a relationship with so much good benefits. I think that is the second reason why people are probably to fall for this. The impact is quite simple. We think the main impact here is that people are probably not going to be able to leave these toxic relationships because of the unnecessary coercion which is put upon these people. We say that leads to less autonomy, less agency. But we also know that these people are probably going to be abused and exploited, even though they might be able to let's say work it out in some time. We say that this exploitation and abuse is something which they shouldn't have to do. Now, onto a positive case. I want to note that the biggest problem for side proposition now is that they define right relationships as a picture perfect version of who we like. We said that this isn't necessarily true. I think the right person is someone who can actually who is compatible with you. Let's say that it's to say someone who you can actually accept, someone who you can communicate to, someone who you can actively talk to go through problems. I think this is the most accurate definition because there's no one perfect in this society. I don't think in our current society today we think of someone who's perfect as someone who is good at everything. I think there are some specific criteria and standards that each person has. I think this is what right relationships look like. It's the people who actually meet these standards. I think now the reason why you would still try is because first of all it's standard, but also because you truly love them. I think when you want to get into a relationship with someone, then you're probably going to actively try because the fact that you got into a relationship with them in the first place is because of the fact that you truly care about them and you want to do your best to try and make them happy. I think this is something which opposition has ignored. I don't think people are totally going to become completely emotionless on our side of the house. Because of this, we effectively deal with the problem of toxic relationships. But the reason why we build better relationships is because when you put standards upon these people, people are probably going to make better decisions on who they date. Because you need to meet a social criteria for someone to date you. I think because of that, and assets, first of all, are formerly deterrents, but second of all, you're probably going to choose the better person, someone who you can spend the most of your time with. And for those reasons, I'm so glad to oppose. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that speech. I now call on the government whip. You're here.
Can I ensure that I'm audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, that's good. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. To top of my speech, I'll just explain why opposition is fundamentally wrong in the positioning of this debate. Opposition contends that finding the right person is the most important thing. But Judge, we explained way earlier in PM that the ways you enter into a relationship is to stay on both sides of the house. You probably go on dates with your colleague, probably go find someone on social media, probably go through dating apps. The doubt in this debate then is whether or not you opt out of your relationship because of your pursuit of finding a perfect partner or finding a partner that's able to formulate and complete the relationship at the end of the day. This means that all the mechanisms on how you seek a partner is the same. You're able to be the coolest around the same things. This means that when you actually the thing that allows you to stay in a relationship with someone has multiple touch points in life for a longer time. This means the amount of happiness and the love is something that we can derive from a very long time because of the active choice that we're able to make. You don't abandon your partner because of a disagreement you have, but most importantly, and judges are extremely exclusive, you can have partners with diametrically opposing personalities. The government wants to opt out and maintain the relationship because of the fact that your partner is there for you and the partner loves and cares about you. Secondly, then, this team is not very nuanced to the status quo and the structural mechanisms of how relationships work today. Today, you have a content on TikTok that makes individuals looking for a relationship to have a certain mindset of how this relationship will look like. This means that looking like them has no friction, no fights, relationship being sweet and partners being romantic all the time. This is inherently untrue because people tend to expect the most amount of unrealistic standards and expectations within this debate. This is why defense material is very important at the end of the day. We tell you that now you want to have someone who looks good, someone who's rich, someone who constantly wants the same things that you always have all the time. This is why the claims from LO and DLO don't work at the end of the day, because the mental calculus of the social media user with an individual who's looking into relationships aren't going to be likely. This means the opposition's idea of having people who are great and compatible for each other becomes much less persuasive. I don't think you should buy the case at the end of the day, Judge. Secondly, then, individuals are far less likely to find partners because you have multiple obstacles and borders you have to overcome before you're able to enter a relationship in the first place. The fact that it's not easy for you to be able to accept a person whose structural barrier that this op team loses to on their side. Thirdly, then, we still have autonomy and agency on our side. They are extremely dismissive in saying that we don't have any of these things. To enter the relationship, you need to look for compatibility. It is stupid to assume that you can build a long-term idea without knowing someone for some time. Therefore, it is likely what initial amount of compatibility on both sides of the house is symmetrical in the best case. This opposition's team benefit ends right here. We go one step further to explain rights of this compatibility and why you can stay in a relationship for a long time. Fourthly, then, how do we conclusively beat out this op team? Firstly, their case literally ends when they're compatible with their partner, and that they assert because you'll probably be happy for the long term. Literally no mechanism or analysis as to why this is true. We claim this initial amount of opt-in based on compatibility is going to be symmetrical. You enter a relationship with the people that you have similarities and people around you. At this point, both our benefits are the same. But the next step in our case is that we explain how you're able to resolve arguments better through mediations and negotiations. This allows us to be together for This allows you to be your partner for much longer term. No more competing claims or responses from opposition. We simply win this analysis without any engagement. Secondly, then we tell you that you have unrealistic standards because your search for a partner is dependent on social media expectations and settings. This means no responses on opposition towards why this is untrue. We also inherently win this claim. Thirdly and lastly, then, we explain how you're able to be happy for a longer time way earlier by PM by saying how you be in a relationship for the other person. This means you're much less likely to cheat, much less likely to hurt your partner. We took no responses from this opposition team. For other reasons, I show you why we're very clear to win. For other reasons, propose.
All right. Thank you for that speech. With that, I now call on the opposition whip. You're here.
Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you and see you.
I have a little bit of time to set up my timer. Okay, my speech will start on my first word. So what the opposition has come up here and assumed is that on our side of the house there's not going to be any effort. On our side of the house there's not going to be any kind of commitment, etc., etc. But we have come up here from our first POI to our last speaker. We already told you why there was still going to be commitment on our side. But first of all, Celebrado, right? So first of all, yeah, on the idea of having too high of an expectation, we believe that, and on how it's currently a problem in the status quo, right? We believe that on our side of the house we don't have to protect the status quo as first. That's the first thing, right? The second thing is that we believe that on our side of the house we don't define the right person as someone who is completely perfect, meets all of your requirement, even like a six-figure salary and then like 6 foot, etc., etc., right? We believe that this is not what the right person is. The right person is someone who is basically compatible with you, who can communicate with you, who understands you, and you do the same for them. We believe that is the more accurate and the definition of the right person that we've been running for this entire debate. So we believe that on our side of the house, this requirement isn't going to be too high for someone, right? So therefore, we believe that this washes the argument out of the case. Secondly, on the idea of more commitment, now we'll explain to you why on our side of the house there is still going to be a incentive. People are still going to try harder in their relationship, right? So first of all, we believe that the first layer is that simply how hard it is to find how someone who is really suitable for you is not common, right? It's not like you can just pick some random guy on the street and he'll be suitable for you. So when you know that you found someone who is truly suitable for you, we believe that you're going to try much harder to resolve any issue with them, right? And secondly, we believe that even in this, simply because in this relationship you love them, so therefore you're going to at least put in some effort. And third of all, we believe that putting in effort for someone who is suitable for you is much more easy and much more effective than putting it into someone that is not really suitable. What do we mean by this? We mean that, for example, if you understand how you communicate and you understand how they communicate and you can really communicate with each other, you really understand each other. We believe that on our side of the house, therefore, we have more we have a much easier path to commitment, to solving any kind of problem that they send out. That is in addition to the mechanism that the second speaker has also presented to you. And third, on their point of how the way you seek the partner is symmetrical on both sides. We believe that the thing is that how you seek the partner in the first case, what you're going to see is the most idealized version of them, right? You're going to see the perfect version of them. You're going to see the version that they put up to be your partner, right? And only the problems such as, for example, their problem in communication, their incompatibility with you, or how seriously they take their relationship will only start to emerge after you are engaged in that relationship. Therefore, we believe that on our side of the house, we are more willing to cut these people off if they do not simply, if being in a relationship with them is nothing but there's nothing but like it makes you feel worse. It doesn't really fit you, and in the long run, it's not going to really last. So no matter how much effort you put in it, right? So now on our clashes, we have this clash on stakeholder, which are people in relationship. We believe that first of all, in a normal relationship, the situation will be symmetrical, if not on both sides. Why is this? We believe that is because we have already proven to you why there's still going to be effort on outside of the house, right? And we also proven to you why if you find a person that you're feeling good with, it doesn't mean you're going to dump them after in the next argument, right? We believe that on our side of the house, we're not completely disregarding building relationships, right? We're just going to say that the step before building a good relationship is finding someone who is truly suitable for you. And on the second group, which is the toxic relationship, we see that we clearly win in this. Why is that? It's because on our side of the house, we do not pressurize people through their families, their friends, through social media to stay in any relationship that is actually treating them toxically. And there's nothing that a toxic person can weaponize against their partner, right? So we believe that on our side of the house, we win on this. And why is this so important? Because on their side of the house, not only will toxic relationship remain, but there will be more and more of them because people start to see that, oh, I do not have to really improve for my partner, right? So because they're going to stay with me due to this narrative, and then that's going to create that's taking away a barrier that stops people from being toxic in the first place. Therefore, and also toxic relationship is really, really bad because this means that either one is not going to work out in the long run, either two, that there's going to be abuse, there's going to be other problems because you're going to have to stay with each other for like 60 years, right? I rest my case.
All right, thank you for that speech. I now call on the opposition reply. You're here.
Okay, is this audible and am I visible too?
Yes to both.
Okay, speech referred in 3, 2, 1. I think this debate should be judged on 3 things. First of all, whether we have relationships or not. We want to know that we have relationships for two reasons. We already told you throughout the debate that first of all, the right person doesn't mean that you have to find a perfect picture perfect person of someone in your eyes. I think that means that you just need to find someone who you're comfortable with. I think the main reason why this is much more likely on our side of the house, and the reason why this definition is much more likely on our side of the house, is essentially because of the fact that if you follow the picture perfect version of someone who you want to date on everyone's life, then I don't think you would be actually able to find someone who you want to date in the future. Second of all, in terms of, I think people will still love them. I think the biggest assumption which proposition made is the fact that they never proved why people probably would probably have less emotions on the outside of the house. We think that we probably have much emotions. We probably still have the same amount of emotions because people still love each other. People are still humans and people still have those kind of things. But second of all, why do we protect relationships? I think this is something which side proposition has never engaged to. They never told you why they were able to protect toxic relationships and how they're actually being able to protect people from things like abuse and exploitation. I think this is something which is quite unclear, and I think this is something that's quite important because this because of the impact. We think the magnitude is quite high, especially because of the fact that toxic relationships itself is quite exploitative and abusive in a sense in which people are probably going to be mentally hurt, but also maybe they might be stolen of money, for example. But whether we have better standards and whether we have better relationships, we also know that on our side of the house, we probably have better relationships for 3 reasons. We already told you how people are probably going to still have standards on our side of the house when they try to actively find the right person. Second of all, we already told you why we're probably going to be no toxic person. But third, I think people are pressured to change on their side of the house in a sense in which people are pressured to change on the idea of what their partner likes. I think because of that, you probably wouldn't be as comfortable as you were on our side of the house. And for those reasons, I think opposition should win. Thank you.
Thank you for that speech. I now call on the government reply. You're here.
All right. Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. We tell you that there is still going to be some compatibility, at least in our worst case scenario, from the beginning of a relationship. Okay, let's be extremely charitable and let's use one of the, I guess, worst ways of finding your date, right? Dating platforms, dating sites. You still need to put in something you have in common, and the algorithm matches you with someone that has something in common with your profile, right? We tell you that then there is still going to be some sort of reason that you even know this person in the first place. That means that you know them at least. That means that you have some sort of connection and relationship with them originally, right? Note that then we still have compatibility in our worst case scenario. Note then that we still have some sort of mutual understanding and something they do find attractive within another, right? Note that you're not going to randomly find a homeless person, someone that is aggressive towards you, and suddenly go on a date with them. Note that then we still have something in common, something that we are still compatible with, and that takes down their biggest harm on how these relationships will die off in the long term, right? Note then that secondly, toxic relationships, right? They tell you that then we can coerce our partners because we can say that you need to focus on building the relationship. Note that this narrative affects everybody in society. Note that then the people who are toxic in the first place do have to make improvements, do have to meet in the middle, and this is the only way to actually push them to meet in the middle in the first place, right? It's the sole fact that they are also affected by the narrative, and if the victim does not see any mutual improvement from their partner, they can now have the understanding that the relationship cannot be improved, cannot be savored, and therefore can now opt out on our side, right? We tell you that then this is more dangerous on their side than the fact that this person is glorifying the AKA right person who has all the qualities that they will ever want and would never have a reason to leave, right? Thirdly, then, we tell you that because we still have the opt out, right? Because we still have the opt in of like mutual understanding, mutual connections, we tell you that we remove two of their biggest harms. However, what are the positive material? Okay, the time, bro. All right.
All right. Thank you so much for that speech. That ends our debate for today. Debaters, you may now cross the house. Again, a reminder that this is a silent round, which means that you will be announcing the results in the main hall later on during the awarding ceremony. So at this point, again, congratulations for the round. Please proceed now to the main hall so that the judges and I can use this room to deliberate.